And we are live. Welcome everyone to the 59th episode of Coaster Time, hosted by me, Carrick from Coaster Hour. And for today's stream, we will have various different segments as always, including news, Q&A, a quiz, Guess the Coaster, and the first ever global roller coaster roulette, which will be where I do the roller coaster roulette segment that I introduced in some of the previous streams. But we also include, in addition to North American parks from around the world. So that'll be fun to try out. And if you want a more specific schedule, make sure to check out the itinerary or the timestamps in the description down below. And that'll kind of give you a better idea of what exactly is going on in what order. So with all of that being said, we're actually going to go straight into the news for this episode. Excited to go into some of these topics as all of these have happened over the last month, basically since I did the last stream. Some of these announcements being definitely interesting and some pretty surprising. But the first one we're going to go over is the Mauer Ride's new coaster concepts that they have unveiled. So recently they have unveiled their Spike Shamrock coaster, which is the one on the left, along with their Fun Tower, Spike Fun Tower 55 meter. So both of those are new. They were unveiled ahead of IAAPA Expo Europe, which is happening next week and will be an exciting overall event. There's going to be a lot of announcements and different things discussed during that event. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that next week. But as for these coasters, the Shamrock itself is a very interesting concept. Just the stats to list off: a height of 115 feet tall, length of 2,133 feet, top speed of 40 miles per hour, and 7 inversions, including this Shamrock element that you see, which is, of course, 3 inversions just in and of itself. Pretty wacky looking coaster concept. And then the Fun Tower 55 meter as well is literally like a polar coaster, but if they made it a spike coaster is probably the best way to describe it. So a height of 180 feet, length of 1,575 feet, speed of 56 miles per hour, and multiple inversions. I couldn't find an exact number on the site, and even by looking at all the angles, I couldn't get a concrete number down, so just know that there would be multiple of those in there. But yeah, definitely some interesting ride concepts, very creative. I'll be curious to see if we see anything like these or anything of these sort pretty much end up being built in like the next few years. A lot of people were saying for the Shamrock coaster that was like a Emerald Park vibes, or like a pitch perhaps, it seemed like almost, which is kind of funny, which is also kind of why I was a little surprised to see that they were making a coaster where like the main part of it is that it looks like a Shamrock, basically. So that's kind of interesting, but I mean, certainly I would assume that might be a park that would have some interest in at least looking at it, if they were to consider future projects. And then Civilian Satellite, you mentioned how it's really weird how the tower one ends with a yeah, that also is pretty strange. So if you watch the entire layout, there's animations released on the Mauer YouTube channel. Yeah, it finishes with that braked vertical drop, which is interesting because one would maybe think it would start by going up the vertical lift with kind of like a almost like kind of launch portion, or just going up it quickly. So it's pretty interesting that they kind of went the opposite way about it. So that's certainly pretty interesting. The coaster on the left looks like a St. Patrick's Day coaster. Well, it is a Shamrock, so it definitely makes sense there. So yeah, pretty interesting overall concepts. And just one of hopefully many things that we can look forward to at IAAPA Expo Europe. Honestly, I don't know if any of these are actually going to get built, but I like the creativity at least. So very fun looking concepts. So I'll definitely say that for these ones. Next, we have our next bit of news, which is the SeaWorld announcements. So we had several announcements over really the course of several weeks. specifically relating to the Scorpion announcement. So Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa has permanently closed. The last stream was so long ago, it hadn't even been announced that it was going to be closing. But of course, this was a classic Schwarzkopf looping coaster that opened in 1980, was one of 2 remaining Schwarzkopf Silver Arrow coasters in operation. And it was also the first inverting coaster for a lot of people over there on the East Coast, especially in Florida. So a lot of nostalgia attached to this ride for sure. And it closed on September 8th. So it was initially supposed to close on September 2nd on Labor Day, but they extended the closure date so people could get an extra opportunity to ride. But unfortunately, it is no more. We don't know if it'll be scrapped or what the future of it is. But they did announce that they are getting their Wild Oasis Kids area for 2025. It's basically a refresh to that sort of kids area in Jingala. It'll feature the return of Wild Surge as a new drop tower experience with new effects. It'll also have new animal exhibits, a new climbing structure, and new water play areas. So, and looking based on the concept art, it looks very nice in terms of the presentation. So it looks like it'll be a good addition for Busch Gardens Tampa, especially because I don't really think they've gotten anything super kids or family related in a while. So this is definitely a nice change of pace and a necessary addition based on what the park needed. So yeah, Wild Oasis basically is just Jingala reopening, but I think it's something that was certainly needed. And we'll hopefully that ends up working out there. Next, we have Busch Gardens Williamsburg. They have announced their 2025 B&M Family Invert. The stats we know of, it'll have a top speed of 40 miles per hour, length of 2,583 feet. They're labeling it as North America's longest inverted family coaster. It'll also have a height requirement of 42 inches, which is definitely quite good to have a coaster that's more accessible for the younger ones, so that's good. But the name is yet to be decided. It'll be decided via vote, which is going until September 25th. Your options for voting are Geisterwolf, which means Ghost Wolf, Wolfsturm, which is basically means Wolf Storm, and then Wolf's Rain, which it didn't give a description of what the meaning is, although, I mean, Wolf's Rain, like Reign of Wolf, probably, so it seems pretty clear there. A lot of people have had opinions on the name options. I think Geisterwolf's personally the best option, just because it makes a lot of sense, because this ride is tying back to sort of the return of the big bad wolf, and so you could say this is the ghost of the wolf returning. I think that's a good idea for the theme. And the coaster will also feature the Germantown style building and scenery throughout the experience based off the animation, which is really nice to have. So and their teasers have definitely been basically kind of paying homage to Big Bad Wolf, which is nice to see. So I do like that. The only thing I will mention here is I'm a little surprised. I think they might have a graphic now that has the actual coaster itself on it, but the main graphic is just showing this town in the background. I know they had in the video reveal, they had a little animation of the coaster, but I thought I was surprised that there wasn't much animation images of the coaster itself when they announced it, but seems like it'll be a good fit for Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And now we officially have it fully confirmed. We've known for a while though that this is what was coming, but nice to see it become a reality. And then we have our last announcement, which just came, I believe, yesterday, which was SeaWorld Orlando. They just announced their 2025 Flying Theater attraction. No name has been mentioned yet, but the leaked name, based on what had been filed trademark-wise, was Northern Flights, a wild Arctic adventure. We'll see if that's what they actually go with. But this attraction adds a much-needed true dark ride to SeaWorld Orlando. One of the things that I said after I went to the park was that it was kind of strange that they didn't have a dedicated true dark ride, and they have previously, but they've removed them for other editions. So it's nice that they finally have that. very well presented park in general, and it's very good now that they have this type of experience and an indoor attraction also very much needed. So definitely fills those two gaps. 4.5 minute ride duration as well, which is really good. And the ride will basically take visitors through the northern Arctic to see the different landscapes, the aurora borealis lights, the belugas, walruses, orcas, and more. So this will be like northern Arctic theme, not to be confused with Antarctica. So that definitely is a really good addition for that park. I'm happy to see that they've finally announced it. It's also been, this is one that kind of got leaked early, but I think this is going to be a really good addition for SeaWorld Orlando. So, and I think most people would agree. Shelter and air conditioning, two must-haves in Florida, exactly. So, fantastic addition for SeaWorld Orlando there. Don't think I can praise it enough just in terms of literally it's just such a perfect fit. So, love to see that. And then we'll move on to our third thing, which is the Cedar Point news and updates is what I've listed this as. So since the last stream we did, I believe just a few days after it occurred, Cedar Point announced that Top Thrill 2 will remain closed until 2025. They announced that specifically on August 23rd. The ride was only open to the public for about 4 operating days based on data from queue times. It was also operational for a few additional days from previews, so obviously did not have the run that the park was hoping for in its opening year, but they are still saying the coaster will be returning in 2025, even with their most recent announcements, which we'll get to in a bit. Of course, this coaster, they were hoping to reopen it earlier. It was said back in June that that Top Thrill 2 was not going to be closed all summer, and while that didn't exactly work out, there's a lot of speculation in terms of what the issues are. Main things seem to be related to the trains and wheels, although I know that they've been looking at the track as of late, so it seems like there are a few different things that are going to have to be looked over and adjusted, so we'll see how that goes. But then we move on to Snake River Falls. That has recently permanently closed. It was an Arrow Shoot-the-Chutes ride that opened in 1993. It closed on September 2nd and was removed to make way for future expansion, which is honestly what a lot of people thought the future expansion was going to be their kind of out of nowhere 2025 announcement, but actually that land will remain untouched for now, as Siren's Curse, a new Vekoma Tilt coaster, has been announced coming in the 2025 season, which really came out of nowhere. It's going to be built on the former plot of land where their former dorms used to sit. It's actually going to be right next to Valraven, which is interesting. But for stats, 160 feet tall, 2,965 feet long, 58 miles per hour top speed. The coaster will also feature LED lights on the trains and onboard audio with the sound of sirens, along with 2 inversions. And there's a lot of stuff here. I'll just kind of go through the comments before I continue, because this specific coaster is kind of a massive conversation. But yeah, that was it was a surprising morning for sure on Thursday, in terms of that announcement. Probably the most unexpected announcement ever. Yeah, it really came out of nowhere. I don't think I knew of anybody who, I mean, I certainly had not heard of this as even being brought up as like an idea. So definitely was extremely shocking. Poor Code Orlando, yeah, because this is probably going to open before that one. Oh, should be mentioned, this is opening in early summer 2025 rather than May. Worth noting because Cedar Point tries to get their coasters open by May, but the wording here was specifically early summer 2025, so we're probably looking at a post-opening time frame, or post park opening for the season time frame for this coaster, which makes sense. And to start off this one, I'll go into what I think about this coaster for Cedar Point itself. I mean, it looks like a high quality coaster for sure. It's definitely an exciting new ride. It has that tilt mechanism, which is going to make it, I imagine, quite popular. It also has a 48-inch height requirement, so it's also actually pretty accessible, which is nice. And even though, yes, it is next to Valraven, I don't see that as being an issue with guests. I think that's more going to be a coaster enthusiast complaint. I don't think guests will be questioning it too much. Though, yes, I do admit I do kind of find it weird, but like I said, I just think in general guests won't really have anything to say on that. But it's going to be a really fun ride. It definitely adds to what is already an insane coaster collection. And it's a nice gift, I guess, considering for locals and those who got Cedar Point passes, who weren't able to get to ride Top Thrill 2 last year, that theoretically, and I say theoretically, you will have both this and Top Thrill 2 to ride next year. However, I think kind of moving away from it from that standpoint, this announcement very much screams being a very last minute addition. I believe permits were just filed this week for the ride. They had a teaser campaign that started less than a week before they announced the coaster. That had very little build up and seemed more hint at a water ride, and there was an AI generated image in there, which it just in general screamed very last minute. And then it is speculated that this coaster is, and I do believe this is the case, that this is the canceled Energylandia tilt coaster that was intended to go to Six Flags Mexico. And in terms of why it didn't go to Six Flags Mexico, they were having issues with the local government. They had worked with the local government to basically get past the part where they didn't want them to cut down any trees for the specific coaster. And so the plot of land it was supposed to go into originally, they actually switched locations to accommodate that. But I guess the mayor and the locals still had an issue with it potentially causing increased traffic, which I guess is something that couldn't be fixed. So it seems like the park was either going to have to, it probably was not going to open next year, and potentially if ever, just based on how tough it seemed like the local government was being with this project. So it seems like it made sense to send it somewhere else. But as for Cedar Point as the spot, very, very interesting just from a few standpoints. They did have an open plot of land. Now with those dorms removed, where this fit in pretty well, actually. So they're going to have to reroute a road. But, in terms of, how it fits in a land, it seemed to be a pretty good fit. So I guess that kind of makes sense there. But there's a lot of mystery and speculation in terms of how much this relates to Top Thrill 2, if at all. People are speculating if this is just sort of more of an sort of apology gift, we're going to have both these experiences next year to make up for not having Top Thrill 2 last year. Some other people have also questioned if Top Thrill 2 itself, if there's questions of if it will be ready by opening next year or ready next year at all. And this is sort of just an insurance piece, just to make sure that they do have a new attraction and coaster next year if the ride continues to have issues or doesn't open to begin the season or even at all in the season. We'll see what exactly happens. But I would be lying if I didn't say that I think that Top Thrill 2 does play some role in this, but we'll see what happens. Maybe not. Maybe it just was they wanted to find a new coaster within the chain, that a new park for this coaster to go to within the chain, and this was just a plot of land that was kind of ready and ready to go, and this was a park that could install the coaster. Which, I mean, fair enough if that's the case. So, yeah, let's see. 2 clickbait coasters next to each other. Yep, that's the truth. Now Dorney Park has 2 last of its kind rides in America. Yeah, so I mean, this tilt coaster layout is the cliffhanger layout. It's a model and layout that Vekoma can produce, like mass produce. They have it listed on their website, so the layout itself doesn't necessarily mean that it's for sure that one, but I mean, it basically is. Just because that coaster had red track, the one that arrived at Six Flags Mexico did, and this one does, and we know, like, without a doubt, this was, like, extremely last-minute decision just based on so many different pieces of evidence, even if it's not officially confirmed. So I think it's pretty safe to say that, yes, this is that tilt coaster. So yeah, I do also kind of want to talk about for a second just as much as I think like this will be a fun addition for Cedar Point to have this coaster, and if they did need to relocate it or wanted to just build it quicker and they had the opportunity to put it at other parks, I really think almost any other park in the Six Flags chain would have been a better option. Like, theoretically, Cedar Point will have Top Thrill 2 open next year. It seems like they're cooking up something with that Snake River Falls replacement. We'll see what exactly that is. I just feel like this is a little unnecessary, and there's a lot of other parks that could have further benefited from this. I know a lot of people have thrown like Valley Fair, Michigan's Adventure, Six Flags Darien Lake, Kings Island, although they probably are planning something for the Vortex plot of land, so I don't know that this is something they would have wanted to shoehorn in, and like even Magic Mountain, like thinking of like a bunch of other parks that could have used this. So I do think that part of it's a little unfortunate with just that this coaster had already been purchased and they just kind of sent it over to a park that already has been getting quite a few projects. And then for from the standpoint from Six Flags Mexico, just the fact that this couldn't work out and the local government was being so tough with the project, that's also concerning as well, because that leaves questions in terms of how much investment they're going to be getting and how open they're going to be with them adding new rides, because I mean, the whole traffic thing was really weird. As a complaint in terms of they didn't want it to add more traffic, which is kind of confusing because a new attraction would theoretically get more people to come in. So, I mean, how does that work? And like Mexico City does have a lot of traffic issues already. So I know in that specific area, it was like a smaller district that was the district that Six Flags Mexico is in, isn't that large population wise in comparison to other ones, but I mean, throughout the entire city there's pretty massive traffic, so I thought that was kind of a weird complaint and criteria to not allow the coaster to be built. Basically, I thought that was kind of nuts. Also, hello Jay, welcome to the stream. Good to see that you're at Conneaut Lake Park. But I think that'll wrap it up for Cedar Point. Next, we'll move on to our last topic, which is the Golden Ticket Awards recap. I'm actually going to take off the banners just so people can see it. I kind of copied and pasted the Instagram, what I posted on Instagram, because I felt since I had already written it out, that was the best way to do it. So these are your award winners from this year's Golden Ticket Awards. Probably the most notable of which being, of course, the best new roller coaster. There had never been an international attraction that had won best new roller coaster, or I think even best new attraction in general. And so to see Voltron win it at Europa Park is really awesome to see. Even I was doubtful of it, considering how I'll just say below the standard this year was for U.S. new coasters. Still had some good ones, obviously. Just in general, like the number and the quality wasn't what it usually is. But Fire in the Hole also got its flowers for Best New Family Attraction, Best New Attraction Installation, so that's cool. And then I think they introduced a Best New Themed Concept Award, so even Good Gravy got a little award, which is nice. But yeah, I think those in terms of the awards were the most interesting ones, just to kind of see. Still, I'm looking forward to the vote coasters as we transition to the top 50 steel and wood coasters. Not sure how well this shows up here. Typically, parks and coasters that Ace visits get a boost in the awards. Yeah, definitely have noticed because I think there are a lot of the voters. So, makes sense. But, I mean, however it may be, I still very much appreciate seeing the, finally an international coaster win the award. Here. Some interesting observations with this top 50 steel coasters this year. I mean, Voltron made it all the way at 11, which is really cool to see. I've heard absolutely amazing reviews for it. And I haven't been paying too much attention, but it feels like some of the family coasters have been getting ranked like really high in this year's, because I saw Big Bear Mountain was like at 32. And then Hagrid's is like top 25, and then Guardians is 18. So that was interesting. Phoenix also made it. So as in the one at Far Hope Summerland. Phoenix, of course, at Knoebels won Best Wooden Coaster again, which mostly looks the same. I think Wodan is higher than usual. So because seeing an international wooden coaster in the top 10, I don't remember usually seeing that. And then I also noticed that Heidi the Ride is also like pretty high on here, which I guess a lot of people rode Ride to Happiness, and that's high on the list, so that's kind of interesting. But as far as the rankings go, I'm definitely excited to see the vote coasters, but still is sometimes interesting to look at the Golden Ticket Awards rankings, because I mean I'll just say like a lot of my rankings differ quite wildly from what's on here, but everyone's gonna have different rankings, so that is to be expected. But that's gonna wrap it up for the news. Hope you all enjoyed that recap and my thoughts on the various different things that have happened since the last stream. And with that being said, I'll open it up to first Q&A and buy or sell. So ask any questions that you have for me here. It can be related to anything. It can be news related or just whatever comes to mind. And then we will be doing the quiz after this. So that'll be the plan. Quiz created by Frontier Coasters. So shout out once again. But any questions you have, any buy or sells you have, let me know. And we'll get going on that. So that'll be the plan. I'm trying to think of other things that have occurred outside of that. Actually, I didn't put it on the news topics, but I think one of the interesting things that kind of got swept under the rug with a lot of these announcements happening is that recently there was a Coaster 101 podcast that was interview that was done with one of the members of leadership at Mattel Adventure Park. I don't remember what their position was, but for the Kansas City location, they revealed that they're going to be getting more outdoor attractions than the version opening in Phoenix in hopefully the next few to several months. And then the coasters will have custom layouts, so we're not going to be getting clones of like Twin Mill Racer or Bone Shaker. All the coasters will have custom layouts, which is pretty cool. So that was kind of something that I figured out. I might mention it here. I don't know how many people were aware of that, but that's awesome to hear. It definitely gives more reason for people to visit the different ones. So That definitely was something interesting that came about. Unpopular opinion: Silver Dollar City is better than Cedar Point. I've never been to Silver Dollar City, but I've heard great things about it. I wouldn't be surprised if I went and shared that opinion. I actually think that more people have that compared to maybe say 5 years ago. But I mean, Silver Dollar City looks absolutely fantastic, so can definitely understand that. But anyways, so any other questions? Like I said, any buy or sells you have, you can ask. And then also, if you have any questions or buy or sells that you think of during the stream or anything like that, you can ask it later. There will be one final segment at the end. So, all right, now that Six Flags Mexico won't be getting the tilt coaster, what coaster do I think they will get now? So the problem is that I view this very pessimistically for Six Flags Mexico's future. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they better get a good consolation prize. I don't think they will, because I mean, this was much more just from what I could see, the reason they didn't get this coaster was much more local government related rather than like the chain decided so. And if they're not going to allow them to build a ride because it could cause increased traffic, which I guess is a problem, even though it's in Mexico City, which already has massive traffic issues, and they literally can't do anything about that because, I mean, that's an infrastructure related thing. Then I don't know, I don't know how willing they're going to be for them to build, like, really any large scale projects in general. So, I mean, that's, I think, pretty unfortunate. I would love to be wrong, and I hope this was just a weird, like, kind of one-off situation. I know Superman El Ultimo Escape years ago, they had a heck of a time trying to get that built because I think there were local government issues. So maybe depending on the type of ride they get, it won't be as much of an issue, but I mean, that was pretty brutal. But I mean, if I had to guess, it'd be cool to see them get some sort of launch coaster, for sure, because they don't have that currently. So, I think like a custom or like a Vekoma throwing launch coaster of some sort would be pretty cool to see. I know that Vedanta World is going to be getting one, but that's like really far away. So the fact that Six Flags Mexico would have one, I don't think would be a problem. So would love to see a new gen Vekoma launch coaster. I think that'd be really cool. Buy or sell, despite nothing in the announcement, Siren's Curse will get theming elements on par with Iron Menace. I'm gonna sell that. I mean, I think they'll try, and I mean, like, they'll do what they can, but I mean, Iron Menace is a ride that probably had years and years of planning, or at least a few years of planning, whereas Siren's Curse is a ride that they probably announced and decided in like the last 2 months or less that they're gonna be doing that. So I don't think it's gonna have theming on par with Iron Menace, but I think they will give it a good shot, a good attempt. But they're gonna kind of have to develop it as the ride's being constructed, so it's pretty tricky. Also worth mentioning, I have not ridden Iron Menace, so I may not be the best person to ask about that. Who is going to be my next guest on here? Any ideas? Typically, I don't reveal my guests this far ahead of time. That being said, I'm not even 100% sure, honestly, in terms of who that's going to be. So that'll be a wait and see. Still kind of trying to get my schedule sorted out after having recently started the semester. So we'll kind of see where that goes. What do I predict Freze Park Plone will get from Mach? I think they are gonna get that sort of the Cedar Point on a Cedar Point survey. There was a multi-launch Mach water coaster that was revealed on there that just so happened to, if you looked at the land that it was sitting on, it fit perfectly. It's an actual area that Freze Park Plone has. So people were saying that Cedar Point accidentally leaked or potentially leaked their next project. Now, it could have just been a pitch that didn't go anywhere, but I think they're going to get a multi-launch Mach water coaster. That's what's the announcement's going to be. Which, if that's the case, that's just pretty funny and pretty crazy. Just because it got leaked from a survey from a park on the other side of the world. So that's just kind of interesting. Vedanta World, they're going to be getting that large-scale throwing Vekoma coaster. And that park in general, I think, is being slept on massively. I think once it's fully built and everything, looking at the concept art and all the different attractions, that's going to be a park that I think a lot more people are going to pay attention to over the next year or two. Because I think it's just kind of gotten lost in the shuffle with Epic Universe opening next year and then Six Flags Qiddiya. And I mean, since it is in Mexico, it's not going to be on as many people's radars as opposed to something like a Epic Universe or even something like a Six Flags Qiddiya, which at least has the Six Flags name and identity attached to it. So that's what's been going on. Buy or sell, Blackpool Pleasure Beach will remove Avalanche within the next few years. I will look at that real quick. I know that is their bobsled coaster. And I think there's been I don't know if rumors is the right word to describe it, but speculation it could be on its way out. Is it really the one that they would do, though? I mean, I don't really know what they would replace it with, though, is kind of a thing with that ride. So, and I'm not familiar enough with where it's located and what opportunities they could get to make the best guess of that. But I've seen the idea get thrown around, so for the heck of it, I'll buy it, but very low confidence buy. It was next to Grand Prix. Okay, well then I'll still low confidence buy, but theoretically something to work with there since Grand Prix is no longer around or no longer open. I don't live near where they're doing the high-speed rail construction is, so I don't usually see it that much. So in general, I think people think it's kind of a dumb idea in my local area. So, I mean, that's just seemingly what I've heard from about everyone whenever the conversation has ever come up. Mostly it's been met with pessimism in general. So, I would probably say not well, would be the answer there. Let's see. And then your list of your 5 favorite parks. Number 1, Disneyland. Well, we share the same number 1. I have not been to Silver Dollar City. Cedar Point. It also up there for me. Kings Island. I do have Kings Island over Cedar Point, but understandable. And then Holiday World, which happy to see you have it that high. I have Holiday World probably way too high, but for a lot of other people's lists. But I've just had a really good time there, and their top end attractions are so good. So, and there's a lot of great qualities about the park. The free beverages, free sunscreen, and then, I mean, 3 amazing wooden coasters, 2 world-class water coasters. and an overall just fun atmosphere. Absolutely love that place. But that's a good top 5 for sure. So I think that is all the questions. So I will end this first Q&A session at that. And then we will go into the quiz, which I will pull up here. So this quiz was created by Frontier Coasters. Actually, just to let Frontier Coasters know, I did edit the last question. So did think I'll just mention that real quick. The last tiebreaker specifically. But otherwise, this quiz was created by Frontier Coasters. So just to give the rules, no Googling, RCDB, ChatGPT, things of that sort. This is an example question of like a true or false. So you know the drill. So we'll get started with this quiz in 3, 2, 1. And here we go. So which of these countries does not have an operating Schwarzkopf coaster? That is the question. I actually did not get the timer set up, so you have a few, like probably 10 extra seconds, but I will get the timer set up. All right, timer has started. You now have a minute to answer the quiz question. So off we go for the quiz, and we will go from there. Civilian satellite is the first to answer, and now I see that everyone's answering and they're all going with the same question or the same answer. See if that pays off or not. But if you haven't answered yet, you have about 15 seconds to answer. Now 10 seconds. So if you haven't answered yet, make sure to. And the timer has just about run out. All right, that is time. So shout out to Laser, by the way, as Vince said. The correct answer here is C, so everyone got that correct. So just to put them on the scoreboard, Civilian Satellite has a point, as does 808 Coaster Life, Dagan, Michael, and Coaster Evan all have a point. So let me get those on the board. Alrighty. And this quiz, I think, is pretty difficult. We'll give a warning, but everyone got that one right. Second question, which of these coasters is the oldest? The timer has started. You can start guessing away now. So, which of these coasters listed is the oldest? That is the question. The same strategy appears to be happening again. So, we'll see. Oh, well, now, okay, hold up. We have 2 different answers. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see how this one goes. But if you haven't answered yet, you have about 10 seconds to do so. And so, make sure to get your answers in. And the timer has run out. So the correct answer here is D. And I actually, I don't know how to pronounce this ride. But it is the wooden coaster. It's a scenic railway wooden coaster at Wiener Prater, opened in 1950, making it the oldest wooden coaster, the oldest coaster of this bunch. So there you have it. And we'll move on to our next question because no one got that one correct. Alrighty, question number 3. Which of these coasters has the highest amount of G-forces, like at its peak, like basically highest G-force at its peak, pretty much. So that is the question. And the timer did begin as well once we went to that question, so you have about 40 seconds to answer. So we'll see how people's answers differ here. Or if they do. Once again, I'm seeing a lot of similar answers. We'll see if that pays off or if it doesn't, like the last one. So, actually, all those coasters from the previous question, they were all from the 50s. So, they were, that definitely was a tough question, the last one. As, honestly, I think this one kind of is. But with that being said, the timer has run out. And so the correct answer here is C, Shockwave at Six Flags Over Texas, which pulls a max G-force of, our CDB doesn't have it. I researched these just to make sure, and I need them. It probably is on Wikipedia, or something. Okay, Shockwave's G-force, 5.9 Gs, making it the highest of the bunch on the list. So, there we go. But anyways, that would give Jace a point, along with Diggin Barnes. I think the G's of Crystal Beach Cyclone, I'll check again just to make sure. I think this is the one that I kind of quickly took a glance at. Oh, well, The only thing is, I will say for, it said to be over 4 Gs, but it doesn't give an exact number. So I guess there actually is a chance it could have been higher, but it wasn't recorded. So in terms of that question, that was probably my bad for not interpreting that correctly. But based on this, I still think probably Shockwave has the highest, just because it's, I mean, it's one of the higher ones out there. So we'll just go there. But anyways, question number 4, which of these parks is the newest of the bunch? I think G-Forces is kind of a tricky one, so I might actually avoid those questions in the future. Just because, especially older coasters, probably don't have accurate recordings. So yeah. But anyways, this next question, which of these coasters is the newest? And we are about 25 seconds away. So make sure to get your answers in. Now about 15 seconds away. Everyone put in the same answer except for Jace. So we'll see who gets that one correct, if anyone does. And the timer has run out. So the correct answer here is C, Blackpool Pleasure Beach is actually the newest park of the bunch. Crazy, because we associate it so much with having vintage attractions, but as it opened in 1896, it is the newest of the bunch, because these other ones all predate it. Idlewild, for reference, opened in 1878, and Bay Beach opened in 1892. So that was actually a decent guess, actually, because that was pretty close. But Idlewild definitely predates the other ones by quite a bit. And Six Flags New England, I think, is also like a 1870s park, if I'm correct. Yeah, literally 1870. So there you go. So nobody got that correct, so we'll move on to the next question. Which of these coasters opened in 1996? For reference, Flight of Fear at Kings Island opened in 1996. Which one of these other coasters opened with it? Hello, Charged on PC. You actually still have a good chance to compete here because right now the most points anyone has is 2 points. So you can still definitely compete here. With that being said, you now have about 33 seconds to answer the question, so make sure to get your answers in. Now at about 20 seconds. Paul is in the chat. Hello. Now 15 seconds. And the timer is ticking here, so make sure to put in your answers if you haven't already. A lot of similar answers here, but we'll see how it ends up. Alrighty, so the correct answer here, the timer has run out, is C. Fujiyama is the correct answer. So a lot of you actually got that one correct, so great job. Dagan Barnes is on the board with another point, as is Civilian Satellite. Coaster Evan has another point. Charged on PC is on the board. So there we go. Just as a in the lead now is Dagan Barnes with 3 points. And then Civilian Satellite, 808 Coaster Life, Coaster Evan, and Michael all have 2 points. So Charged on PC has 1. So that's the leaderboard. Yeah, JC wrote it, so you should have known. If only it were that easy. But we'll move on to the next question, which is true or false? Aerodynamics built a spinning coaster prototype. True or false? That is the question. So I did start a timer as well. Once that question came up, you now have a little over 40 seconds to answer the question. So make sure to answer within that time. Yeah, you'd rather have the credit than the point, to be fair. Yeah, definitely would have to agree on that one. So a lot of different answers coming here. You have about 15 seconds to answer now, so make sure to get your questions in. Hello, Park Visions, how you doing? Good to see you here. Happy to see you return with your channel. Enjoyed being at your stream a few days ago, so or I guess about a week ago actually. But that being said, timer has run out for this question. The answer here is actually true. So Aerodynamics actually did build a Virginia Reel prototype. It was never actually built for the public, but hence that's why I use the word prototype. So the answer is true. Civilian Satellite got a point for that, along with Dagan Barnes, who that was at 4 points. And then Michael has another point as well. So Dagan remains in the lead with 4 points. And then we'll move on to question number 7. Which of these countries is now home to the last operating Schwarzkopf Silver Arrow? For reference, this was the model that specifically Scorpion was. So there you go. That'll be the question. All right, Civilian Satellite coming in with a quick guess. Always seems like, Vince, you have like really quick guesses. Everyone going for the same one. That's the strategy. It is a strategy for sure. But if you haven't answered yet, you have about 20 seconds to do so. And then I probably should mention for this quiz, it'll be 10 questions in total, and we have some tiebreakers that if it comes down to it, will determine the winner, and if not, we'll just do those for fun. But if you haven't answered yet, you're going to be basically done because the timer just ran out. So that'll do it for that. So the correct answer is C. So everyone who answered was correct. So Civilian Satellite has another point. Paul is on the board. And then trying to get everyone their points. Dagan has another point and remains in the lead with 5. Michael has a 4th point. 808 Coaster Life has a 3rd point. Coaster Evan also has a 3rd point. And Charged on PC has 2 points. So still anyone's game. But yeah, someone shared a Croatia trip report on Reddit shortly after the Scorpion announcement, so it's fresh in your head. There you go. Maybe you might have wanted to wait a little bit because I think everyone wanted to do that, but that very good there. So that's certainly impressive. Also, welcome to the chat, Awesome Coasters. We'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these inverted/suspended coasters is the longest in track length? And I have set the timer, so that has begun. So make sure to put in your answers before the timer runs out. So once again, which one of these is the longest in track length? Jay's first one to answer. All right, a lot of variety in the answers as far as I'm seeing, so that's definitely something. We'll see if which of these answers it is. You have about 10 to 15. Now about 5 seconds to answer. I don't know why I said 10 to 15, 5 seconds to answer. And with that being said, the timer has officially run out. So the correct answer is D. Montu is the correct answer. So Awesome Coasters gets on the board with a point. Only one to get it correct there. Actually was super surprising. I had to double check this one a few times just to confirm. But if you're wondering, because I know a lot of you would think, oh, well, it's Alpengeist, right? Alpengeist has a track length of 3,828 feet, while Montu has a track length of 3,983 feet. Certainly surprising. Alpengeist, the tallest, not the longest, exactly. That's one way to think about it. So, but still surprising that Montu is longer, I will certainly say. I definitely did not know that, and I would have 100% gotten this question wrong. So, yeah, definitely pretty surprising. Although I've never ridden either of them, so that probably doesn't help. But there you go. All right, we'll move on to our 9th question, which is, which of these amusement parks operated the longest before they shut down? That is a question, honestly, really difficult one. Once again, Frontier Coasters made the quiz, so much appreciated. But yeah, some of these questions were like really, really hard. I'm like, wow. But very creative, so I will definitely say that. All right, everyone's putting in their questions. Everyone's going for C. We have another Evan in the chat. Hello. But we have about 20 seconds to answer the question if you haven't already. We'll see if anyone gets this one right, or if everyone gets it right, or if everyone gets it wrong. I guess we'll see. As the time is running out here. So the time has run out, and the correct answer is gonna be C. Coney Island in Ohio is the correct answer. So surprised everyone got that right. I don't know if you all were jumping on the bandwagon after Michael answered the question, but congratulations regardless. So everyone who answered there will be getting a point. Dagan remains in the lead with 6 points. And I'm just going to update all of these. And then Evan is on the board as well. Alrighty. Next, we'll move on to our final question, as Dagan currently has the lead, which is, which of these roller coaster manufacturers has had a coaster built in Cuba? Another question that is quite something. But there you go. That is the question. Yeah. So timer had begun once I put out the question, so make sure to put in your answers. Got some differing ones here. So once again, which of these roller coasters manufacturers has built a coaster in Cuba? That is the question. Quite a difficult one, to be honest. Or I certainly thought. But we'll see who gets it. Alrighty, the timer has run out. So, with that being said, the correct answer here is B, PTC. Awesome Coasters got that answer in right in the buzzer, so I'll allow it. So Awesome Coasters also gets another point there. As does Evan, charged on PC. And Michael, which actually ties it up. So everyone can participate in the tiebreaker questions. It's for fun, but in terms of who can win now, it'll be between Dagan and Michael. So we have 2 tiebreaker questions. Basically, first one to get one correct will win in terms of that, but everyone can participate. So our first tiebreaker question: which one of these roller coasters opened the same year Independence Day, the film, of course, released? So, multi-layered question. We've moved further out from just Pixar films, I suppose. But Independence Day, of course, an iconic one. I actually have not yet seen it, but of course, still an iconic film. So, which one of these coasters opened the same year as Independence Day released? This is, I mean, the layers to this question is what makes it a tiebreaker, basically. So everyone's going for the same answer or similar answers, but we'll see what ends up paying off. You have about 10 seconds left to answer if you haven't already. And the timer has run out. The correct answer here is indeed B, Wild Thing, which makes Michael our winner, since Michael got it first. So congratulations. Michael is the winner of our quiz, but we do have one additional sort of bonus quiz question. Also, Dagan did get it correct, so good job in doing that. But congratulations, Michael. And we'll move on to the final question, which is just basically a bonus. Which of these flat ride models is extinct? Like I said, Frontier Coasters, I did mess with the answers, or one of the answers on this question. So I will just mention that, but guess away. A lot of differing answers on this one. I mean, yeah, I'll admit I'm a theme park and roller coaster enthusiast, not necessarily a flat ride enthusiast, so definitely one that I'd probably struggle with, though I think this one I'd actually get correct based on the options, but still certainly a tricky question if you are not aware of the different flat rides out there. Timer has run out. The correct answer is D, the SNS Sky Sling. So Jace got that correct, along with Civilian Satellite, Dagan Barnes, Michael, and Coaster Evans. So congrats there, but our quiz winner is indeed Michael. So congratulations once again for getting the win. And there you go. I guess, Vince, you had a little bit of an advantage seeing both standing flyoplanes, so there you go. Yeah, that's going to do it for the quiz, and we'll move on to our next segment, which is actually going to be our previously mentioned Global Roller Coaster Roulette. So actually I have a new graphics thing here for certain segments. I'll put this up so we have kind of graphics and rules and explanation. In this case I do not have a guest, so ignore that portion of it. But basically, if you haven't seen this before, I get to choose next coaster model / concept that 5 parks out of 100 from around the world should add. I will be deciding this or picking based on a random wheel spin that you'll see in a little bit that consists of 100 parks from around the world, 50 North American parks, and 50 others just from around the world. And then once I get the park, I have to do a little bit of research, or I can, and explain my thinking behind the pick. You can also get involved as the chat if you're more, if you visited the park or have any ideas or info that maybe I'm not necessarily privy to, having not been, and just helping brainstorm a little bit. And basically, I can't choose the same model and idea for the same parks as previous picks from previous episodes. If you haven't watched previous episodes, that's not a problem. I'll just kind of explain if we get a duplicate park that I've already gotten in a previous episode, what the previous pick was. So that's pretty much the explanation there. So with that being said, I will pull up the wheel, our wonderful spinning wheel, just in a little bit. Let's do that. So I will remove this, and then hopefully I get the thing up. So pretty much you'll see how this works if you haven't done this yet. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Alrighty. So we have our wheel. Hopefully all of you can see it. Global Roller Coaster Roulette. So I will take it for a little spin and actually have this basically here. So we'll do that. Alrighty. And then let's see. So I have to decide next coaster for Nagashima Spa Land. Okay. Alright. So that's going to be the pick there. That's interesting for sure. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to pull up the coaster lineup just to see what they have. Also, like I said, for any of you who have visited or more familiar, kind of brainstorm a little bit. But that's certainly an interesting park to kind of think of. Let's see, most recent additions, they, of course, Hakuge was their last coaster, so they haven't gotten a new coaster in a while. Obviously, Fuji-Q also just opened a new family launch coaster, so, and a lot of their most recent coasters have been on the extreme side. So, of course, their most well-known coasters, they have Hakuge, Steel Dragon 2000. They do have a decent bit of family coasters, but man, they're all not modern. So I am definitely kind of thinking of going along that route. And they do have 2 wild mice, which is kind of funny. But yeah. And then, Okay, so definitely something family coaster related would be good here. Um, I think. But trying to think of the exact model that would be a good idea is a little tricky. So, because I think like an Intamin straddle would be good, but that's I think a little too similar to what Fuji-Q Highland has. Um, so let's see. I was thinking kind of like a large scale Vekoma launch, like a Big Bear. I did see that. Um, yeah, let's think. You know what? That was an idea I had, and now that like we're backing it up a little bit, that you guys are backing it up a little bit, yeah, let's do that. All right, so Nagashima Spa Land, we're gonna say, and they do have the money to spend on massive projects, as we've seen. So this is definitely not out of the question. Vekoma Family Launch is gonna be our pick. Alrighty, there we go. So that'll be our first one. And then we'll head back to the wheel again for our next pick, which will be as follows. Alrighty, so it looks like we're gonna get, is that Dream World in Australia is our next one. Only had 2 Australian parks, so there we go. And we've gotten international parks up to this point, so that makes it so this has actually worked correctly. So I'll take that out of there. All right, so for Dream World, they of course just got Steel Type in most recently. They are getting their Vekoma coaster, the Switchback coaster, and Jungle Rush as well. So you have that going there. They have a kiddie coaster they just opened that's a powered coaster as well. And it is worth noting, they have lost Tower of Terror 2 and Buzzsaw in recent years. So I think this is the case. We're definitely going with a thrilling coaster would be a good idea. Exactly what would we go with? Would be... Let's see. Yeah, and they have close you have to be wary of course, Warner Bros. Movie World and SeaWorld in terms of editions. Let's see, though. I kind of also want to go with... I mean, they have worked with Vekoma, so that's definitely something. And you know what? I do like the... I think... Because Warner Bros. Got rid of their SLC, and currently they do not have an invert as of right now, I do like the idea of a Vekoma STC at Dream World. I think that'd be a really nice fit. So for Dream World, and it would give them something a little different as well. For their lineup. They do have a suspended family coaster, and as does Warner Bros. Movie World, but I think Vekoma STC is going to be the guess, or the one I go with. That just seems to make a lot of sense. Oh, I see. Okay, and Charge on PC also mentioned that as well. Yeah, that makes sense. RMC Raptor, yeah, could potentially. Vekoma Flyer, I don't know, that's, I don't know about that, but would be cool to see, so, there we go. But yeah, Vekoma STC, that would be the pick there for Dream World, so we'll head back to the wheel then, and get our next park, see what exactly we're gonna have to pick for. And are we actually gonna get Cedar Point? Yes, okay. Thanks for being here, Vince. Much appreciated. Okay, we somehow have to pick another coaster for Cedar Point. That's kind of funny. Okay. So That's interesting. Just because, I mean, we're not going to go off of, obviously, of course, they just announced Siren's Curse, Top Thrill 3. We're going to assume that Top Thrill 2 for this exercise is okay, or, you know, they're still working on it, whatever, but it's not like we don't have that land to utilize. We're not replacing it. And then Siren's Curse obviously exists now, although that honestly I don't think really changes a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. They could use, that is a good point, Gerstlauer Infinity Dive. Oh my gosh. Ah, man. I would say like a new large scale family coaster would actually make sense, and I have said that I think a new family coaster would be good. But I think we need to the problem is the plot of land, although I believe so Snake River Falls is kind of near like the forbidden, like the area they made several years ago. That no longer is there, right? So do we want to go with a family coaster though? I mean, they have not added. Well, they did add Wild Mouse, but yeah, their lineup as far as family coasters goes is pretty bad. I think it's like so bad, and especially now that they're getting like Siren's Curse on top of it, on top of Top Thrill 2. Like I think it's so in need of something new that we kind of can't ignore it. So, and then just to make sure, so, and also for Cedar Point, Jay said a B&M Flyer, so I can't go with that. But what would be, they need something that has a lower height requirement too, as well. So, that definitely is an indoor coaster. That is something they could use. That really is. And with Cedar Fair's, the only thing is like, I just with that, that it's interesting. But you know what? Yeah, let's do something a little weird. They do need an indoor ride. They do need a family coaster. I know usually you would probably default to like Intamin for like an indoor launch coaster. But let's mix it up a bit now that they're getting a Vekoma Tilt coaster. Let's go with Vekoma Family Indoor Launch Coaster. That's gonna be our thing. I do like that. As kind of a weird, kind of a strange idea, but I think that would be good. So, Vekoma Indoor Family Launch. There we go. Reason I'm not going with like an Intamin straddle coaster is because those have been 48 inch height requirements. I want something that's like actually lower than that because they desperately need it. So, because I think even some of their family coasters, their height requirements aren't that accommodating, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, we're gonna go with that for Cedar Point. So, definitely an odd pick, but that's the one we're going with. And then we'll move on to our final two coasters, or two parks that are getting two coasters. Could pay, I mean, it's a pretty different ride, but if you want to go that route. Next, we have Six Flags Darien Lake. I don't think we've gotten them before, actually, so it's interesting. But yay, we actually get to give Darien Lake something, so that's kind of fun. So Six Flags Darien Lake. Let's look at their lineup right now. So last coaster they got was Tantrum. Another park that, yeah, they do kind of have a family coaster need, but because they kind of all they have is Moto Coaster and Hoot and Holler. But they could just use more modern coasters in general, I would say. Uh, so I'm definitely open to different possibilities, different ideas. Um, this is probably, oh, let's see. It's just no, I'm not going to become until I was thinking of like a B&M dive. Um, they do have Tantrum, which does have a Beyond vertical drop, but I was thinking of like a B&M dive. Um, since we've seen one go to like Dorney Park, right? Um, that is. I'm not gonna go with Vekoma Tilt just because I don't know that that's something we're actually gonna see super often. But um, I think I think that might be the route. I think I'm gonna go with B&M dive for Six Flags Darien Lake. Um, because I think if they were to do something, I think they would want to go for a tried and true model that seems to have a great presence in the park and does well with the crowds. B&M Dive, I'm just going with it because it's a little more proven, basically. Even though I trust that the Vekoma Tilt will work out because it's new gen Vekoma and they've absolutely delivered. But I'm going to go with a B&M Dive just because it's a kind of safer pick, I guess. So we'll do that. Would be a very welcome new addition for Darien Lake. So we'll do that. I'm trying to make these. I don't know if realistic is the right word, but semi-realistic, I guess. And our last park is Six Flags Over Texas. So that's the last park we're gonna decide a coaster for. Shout out to JB Thrills. Um, but anyways, let's see. So kind of looking at their lineup. I mean, they have a massive lineup. So, but they haven't really gotten much as of late. They got Aquaman a few years ago. They got Joker and then New Texas Giant. But it's been a while since they've gotten something particularly like I mean Aquaman and Joker are significant rides, but no, they don't need a new kiddie coaster. They kind of have that down. And their family coaster lineup is fine. So we can look to give them something more thrilling, I think. In this case. So let's see. So and then I have to consider Fiesta. I mean they have overlap with Fiesta Texas, so that's not even getting something similar to them is certainly not off the table. I don't think they're gonna do a new modern wood coaster. I don't think that would be the route they'd go. Though I'd certainly be down for it, but I don't know about that one. I know I am thinking of like a Vekoma launch coaster of some sort because let's see their launch coasters currently is it's Mr. Freeze, which I mean yeah that's it. So that is tempting. Oh well, an Aquaman Power Rave, but that's a shuttle coaster. So I do think a Vekoma Ghost Rider would be kind of sick here. So I'm gonna go with that. I think that'd be pretty sick. So then that's a large scale launch coaster. So Vekoma Ghost Rider is what we're gonna go with. That is a good idea. Okay, so Vekoma Ghost Rider will be our Six Flags Over Texas pick. And that'll wrap it up for our global roller coaster roulette. So hope you enjoyed it. Definitely interesting doing it for the first time without a guest. Because this has been a segment that's been more of a guest segment. But let me know if you'd want me to bring it back either for guest segment or just an individual stream that I do. So make sure to let me know, and we will go from there. So our next segment before our buy or sell / final Q&A is going to be Guess the Coaster. So, and I also have a graphic for this as well. So for basically anyone who's never played, here are your Guess the Coaster rules. And then let me take myself out here. So Guess the Coaster game. You can check out the chat example, but rules. I will come up with a roller coaster using RCDB that you will try to guess. You can ask yes or no questions in the chat about the coaster. From the answers, you will try to guess the coaster. You have unlimited attempts to do so. First person to guess the coaster correctly gets credited with a point. Winner will be decided by who guesses the most coasters. In a tiebreaker situation, the person who guesses first in the most recent round will win. And then there's an example there. So yes, those of you in chat will probably see yourselves in the example. So there you go. But that is, I might shore up the graphics a little bit, but this, I just made it pretty quick. Figured they'd be a good addition for those who haven't played the games before, whenever we have new people in here. And so with that being said, I will be getting my first coaster. We will be doing 8 rounds in total. I do already have my first coaster on my first RCDB click, so make sure to guess away, and that'll be the plan. So there we go. Alrighty, so first coaster, guess away. It is not red, no. So it is not red, I can definitely say that. It is in Europe, it is steel, and it is a B&M. So we have a European B&M coaster. It is not at Japan. It is not at a chain park. So far we have a European B&M coaster at a standalone park. It is not in Germany, and it is not Silver Star. You just asked the questions that are in the chat example. It is not Pyrenees, it is not in Sweden, it is not Daemonen, and it is not in Spain. So once again, we have a European B&M coaster at a independent park. It is not Shambhala, and it is not Katoon. It is not in Italy either, and it is not in the UK. So the country has yet to be guessed. European B&M coaster is pretty much all we have. Oh yeah, and it's at an independent park. So those are the only things to go off of. It is not in Denmark, but it is in the Netherlands. So we do have a B&M coaster at an independent park in the Netherlands. It is not Daemonen. It is not in Belgium. Once again, B&M coaster at an independent park in the Netherlands. It is not Phoenix. Also, I don't think I had any rules, but yeah. Although, well, it's Guess the Coaster, but don't use like RCDB or whatever, basically, yourselves. But Michael got it correct. It is Baron 1898. So that is correct. First person to get it correctly will get a point. So Michael has the first point. And we'll move on to our second one. Let's see. So I will... Oh boy, this one is... Well, I'll just say, if you know this one's definitely going to be tricky, but I'm going to go with it. So, this is definitely going to be a tricky coaster. But if you know your international coasters, you might get it. So, there you go. So, ask away the questions. It is not Cyclone at Crystal Beach. Let's see. It came up. Michael came up first on my screen, so that's just how it showed up in my case. But this coaster is indeed red. Very red. It has red track and red supports. Can't be any more red. So it definitely fulfills that requirement. It's not in the US, but it is in Europe. So we do have a coaster with red track and red supports in Europe. It is not in Japan. It is not Hopi Hari. So we have European red roller coaster. It is not a B&M. Not Invincible Warriors. It is not T3, even though that coaster is red track and red supports. It's not Daemonin. Like I said, this coaster is kind of difficult. Quite difficult, actually, but we'll see. It's not Kavastin. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's not the family inverted coaster. It is in Germany, so we do have a coaster, a red coaster in Germany. So that's pretty much it. A red roller coaster in Germany. But let's see what other questions we have. It is not Expedition G-Force. That is like a completely orange coaster, but this coaster is like completely red. So not Expedition G-Force. It's not from B&M. I will say that manufacturer could help narrow down this coaster. I will say. It is not Dynamite at Freyze Park Plone, but I will say, just to help out, manufacturer could help narrow this down. I would definitely be asking questions related to that. It is a German manufacturer, and it is from Gerstlauer, so we do have a red Gerstlauer coaster in Germany. So red Gerstlauer coaster in Germany. And Frontier Coasters actually got it. It is Huracan at Belantis, the Gerstlauer Eurofighter. I'll give it here because this is the one that I know that's the one you were going for. So Frontier Coasters will get a point. I would even like, honestly, if someone got the park or whatever, I probably would have given it because I know that like the exact name might have not come about, but that works. So there you go. Alrighty, I do have my next coaster, so guess away. And fortunately, this one will be a lot easier, at least in my opinion, than the previous one. You've never heard of that coaster before. Yeah, Canopy Coaster does have a review on it, so or at least he's talked about it. It's at Belantis, which is a Park A Reunidos park in Germany. But yeah, Gerstlauer Eurofighter, I believe it has like a good layout, but it's quite rattly, is what I've heard. This coaster is in the US, so we do have a US coaster. So we've narrowed that down. It has not had a hot sauce or goose incident as far as I'm aware. It is not east of the Mississippi River, so it is west of the Mississippi. So far we have a coaster that is west of the Mississippi River. It is not in California. But yes, I would definitely say it's in the southern US. It is in Texas. So we do have a roller coaster in Texas. It is not a B&M, but it is a wooden coaster. So we have a wooden coaster in Texas. So that definitely should narrow it down. It is not from RMC. It is not an RMC coaster. It is not Judge Roy Scream. It is not New Texas Giant either. So we have a wooden coaster in Texas, not made by RMC. It's not Boardwalk Bullet, and it is not Texas Stingray. So none of those. But once again, wooden coaster in Texas. It is not Rattler. Do like the guess though, but not quite. Not Rattler. And Michael got it very closely, followed by Dagan. It was like very, very close. But Michael showed up on my screen first. It is Switchback at ZDTs. So Michael gets another point. And we will move on to our next one, which is going to be, well, I can't say, but I do have it. I do have the coaster. So, guess away. I do have the coaster. And this is round 4, so we're doing 8 in total. So, just to let you know, it's still anyone's game here pretty much. Still have plenty of time in order if you want to win, basically. Let's see. It is not Phoenix. I think that was actually from previous. It is not in California, but it is in the U.S. It is not a B&M coaster. So we have a U.S. coaster that is not from B&M. So that's what we have so far. So make sure to ask other questions. And in this case, it is east of the Mississippi River. So this coaster is east of the Mississippi River. Is this coaster orange? I wouldn't really say so, no. I wouldn't say this is an orange coaster. This is not a coaster it is not a coaster in Texas. This coaster did not operate anywhere. This park is the only place it has operated, so it's not a relocated coaster. It is not in Ohio. It is not from Intamin. It is not in Florida. It's not in Pennsylvania. It's not Magnum XL 200. It's not in the New England region. It's not Carowinds. It's not from Mauer. So we basically still have this is a roller coaster on the east side of the Mississippi River. So still a lot of ways it could be narrowed down outside of that. It is not at Dollywood. It is not in Arkansas and is not from RMC. It is not in Virginia. So, and it is not from a German manufacturer, so no. It's not in Georgia either. So, keep guessing. You'll get closer. It's not from Chance Rides. It is not in Illinois. So keep guessing. It is not from an American manufacturer, and it is not in New Jersey. So, although hold up, it is in. I missed it. It is in Maryland. It is in Maryland. So, that is a state. It isn't there. There it is. So we have a roller coaster in Maryland. So there you go. It is not at Kentucky Kingdom, obviously. In this case, it's not Firebird. It is at Six Flags America, though. It is not Skywinder. It is not Ride of Steel, but it is indeed Batwing. Charged on PC was close there as well, but Michael showed up first on my thing, so Michael gets another point, putting him at 3 points. And we'll move on to our next one, which taking me a little bit to get this one. Wow, I got Bullfight in the Sky as a random coaster. Obviously not doing that one, but shout out. Let's see. Still no. Okay, got it. Okay, I do have the next coaster. Guess away. Let's see. I assume these questions are being asked for the next one. This coaster is in the US, so we do have a US coaster. Once again. So US coaster. Wait, Oaks is suing Zamperla, are you serious? Is that actually happening? Am I like out of the loop? Is that something that... Hold up. I gotta look at that real quick. Oh yeah. Oh boy, yeah, they did a few hours ago. That's not good. Yeah, that's not ideal. Yep, that's it's not great. But anyway, sorry. Back to this. I hadn't heard that today, so that's new. Um, but anyway, so yes, it is a steel coaster. It is not from a German manufacturer. Um, is it east of the Mississippi River? Let me 100% make sure. It appears so. Or, sorry, it appears that it is not. So it is west of the Mississippi River. So it is west of the Mississippi. It's not in California, not in Texas, not X2, not Bisbee Spiral Airship, not in Ohio, but it is in Missouri, not in St. Louis, not in Minnesota, and it does not invert. So we have a steel coaster in Missouri that does not invert. It is not in, yeah, so I'll just say it's, I mean, since we have the state determined, I don't need to go over the other states. Frontier Coasters got it. This is Mamba at Worlds of Fun. So Frontier Coasters has another point, and there we go. So that's actually was quite a good pick because there's still a lot of rides it could have been, but there you go. Mamba at Worlds of Fun. Alrighty. Next, we'll move on to our next one, and I already have another coaster. This will be round 6, so you still have 3 rounds to go. And I do have my coasters, so guess away. This coaster is in the US, so we do have another US coaster. So, I mean, you have that going. It is not from B&M. So, and it is not from a German manufacturer. So, it is not in Ohio. It is not from Zamperla. It is not in California. It is not in Texas. It is not in Florida. It is in Pennsylvania. So, we do have a coaster in Pennsylvania. It is from an American manufacturer. So we do have a roller coaster from an American manufacturer in Pennsylvania. And yes, because it's in Pennsylvania, because of that, it is east of the Mississippi River. And it is at Kennywood. It is not wooden, though. So we do have a steel, American-made coaster in Pennsylvania at Kennywood. Not Kinemonium, not Skyrush. It does invert, so it does go upside down. It's not Phoenix, not Comet, not Lightning Racer, not Steel Curtain, and not Wildcat's Revenge. So it does invert. I did say that right. Okay. And Charge on PC, got it. It is Skyrocket at Kennywood. That is the correct answer. So Charge on PC is on the board as we head into what will be round 7. So anyone who's still on the board, who is on the board, still has a chance at winning. If not, y'all can still play for fun. So there you go. But let's see. I'm trying to get my next coaster here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I do have my next coaster, so guess away. It is in the US, so we do have yet another US coaster. So at the beginning we had international coasters, and I think everything else has been in the US. So we do have a US coaster once again. It is not from a German manufacturer. It maybe one of these days it will be Bisbee's, perhaps. But it is not in this case. It is not from RMC. It is not east of the Mississippi. It is west of the Mississippi River. It is not a B&M coaster. It is not in California. It is not in Texas, but it is from an American manufacturer. So we do have a U.S. coaster that is by an American manufacturer west of the Mississippi River. Is it east of Utah? That is a good question. No, it's not east of Utah, but it's not west either, if you understand that. So it's not east of Utah. It's not in Colorado. It's not in Oklahoma. It is not roller coaster at Lagoon. And it's not in Utah, by the way, if people were wondering. It is not Wildcat. It is not New Mexico Rattler. It is not Twin Mill Racers or any of the coasters at Mattel Adventure Park. It's not in Idaho. It is not at Elitch Gardens. It is not Cannibal. It's not Silverwood. It's not Half Pipe. It's not Stunt Pilot. It's not Tremors. It's not Aftershock. It's not Timber Terror. I think I said it was not in Idaho, but just to make sure, it is not Diamondback. So a state has yet to be established. But it is west of the Mississippi River. Based on the map, it's neither west nor east of Utah. So we have, and is that really it? We just have a roller coaster made by an American manufacturer, west of the Mississippi, basically. It is not Comet. It's not in New Mexico. It's not in Wyoming. Oh, well, there we go. Jace got the correct answer. It is Desert Storm at Castles and Coasters. So Jace is on the board. Very good guess there. Arizona appears to be directly underneath Utah, so that's why I didn't say it was east. And especially where the ride is, it's directly underneath. So, that is the correct answer, and that leads us into our final round. So Michael is in the lead of 3 points, but Frontier Coasters does have 2 points. If Frontier Coasters gets the next point, then Frontier Coasters wins because they got the most recent one. Anything otherwise, and Michael will be our guest the coaster champion. Everyone else can still participate for fun, so just want to mention what the stakes are there pretty much. I'm still getting my coaster. Alrighty, I do have my next coaster. This should be a good one. It is, let's see, not in the US, not in Europe, but it is in Japan. And by virtue of that, it is international from the US. So, it is in Japan. It is not from a German manufacturer. And it is not from Togo. It is not Ejinika. It is not from Senyo Kogyo. It is not a Nagashima Spa Land. But it is defunct. Yes, we are talking about a defunct coaster here. It is not at Fuji-Q Highland. It is not Big Boom. But it is from an American manufacturer. So we do have a coaster in Japan that is defunct. That is from an American manufacturer. It is not Dododompa. It is not from Hopkins. So it is not Twist Coaster Robin. I believe Sansei is truly credited with the manufacturing portion, even though I'm pretty sure SNS designed the layout. And but it is not Twist Coaster Ramen, as funny as that would be. So once again, roller coaster in Japan that is made by an American manufacturer. So that's what's going on. It is not roller coaster. It is not Silver Star. Perhaps this one is tricky. I think it is kind of tricky, but that's why I thought it was kind of a good one to end it out on. It is not Boomerang. It is not a wooden coaster of any sort. So, yeah, I will say perhaps getting characteristics of the coaster probably would be helpful, if that makes sense. Like potentially statistics, things of that sort, that might help. This coaster does not have inversions. And it is not White Cyclone. It is not Corkscrew. It is... Could you say this was at a point orange? I don't know. Kind of debatable. I wouldn't say so, but an argument could be made it was orange. Let's see. It was red at one point, so it is not a hyper, but it's a hyper style layout. Charge on PC does say the Aero Mega, which, I mean, I can kind of give it, but Jace did get, it was known as Titan at one point, so I'll give it. Although the only thing is, I mean, I know that Charged on PC, you didn't know the name, but you knew the coaster. So, I'll actually be nice. I'll do an extra, I think we can do, if everyone's okay with it, I'll do an extra tiebreaker round, basically. If we want to do that. Just because I'll give Charged on PC a point there, just because I think that's fair, but, yeah, I would have given it for Titan, so we'll do one more. And in this case, this will be the final round. If someone guesses it first, between you two, whoever guesses it first afterwards or types it in, basically, that'll determine who wins. So there you go, and everyone else can keep playing as well. So, yeah. Although, wait a minute, hold on. I just realized, Charge on PC only had a point, so actually I guess I'll give an extra round because I said so. But it was between Frontier Coasters and, right? So, actually, I guess, yeah, because Frontier Coasters was the one with 2 points, correct? I'm not getting that wrong or mixed up or anything. I think that's what it was. I think Charge on PC had 1 point. So I guess Michael still wins, but since I said I'd do another coaster, I'll still, yeah. So Michael has won. This is just a bonus because I miscounted. So, yeah. All right, we'll do this one. This one will be easier. It is in the US. So this coaster is in the US. That is one thing. And it is from an American manufacturer. It is not Bisbee's Federal Airship. So, let's see. American manufacturer. And it is east of the Mississippi River. So we do have a U.S. coaster made by an American manufacturer east of the Mississippi River. It's not related to Mattel in any way. Not in California. It is not from PTC. It is not in Ohio. It is not Flight of Fear. It is not wooden. It's not a wooden coaster of any sort. Though it once was, if that helps. It is not in Florida. It is not Iron Gwazi. It is not in Pennsylvania. So, just to recap, we do have a coaster in the U.S. made by an American manufacturer east of the Mississippi River that once was a wooden coaster, but no longer is. It is not Skyrocket. It is not Wildcat's Revenge. Not Wildcat. Not Twisted Timbers. But it is Twisted Cyclone. So charged on PC, you get a point there. So as sort of a bonus. But Twisted Cyclone was the correct answer there. But with all of that being said, Michael is our winner of Guess the Coaster. Congratulations. And with that being said, we will move on to our buy or sell / final Q&A. So that will be the last segment we do for this episode. Any last questions, any last buy or sells you have, let me know. And then that'll pretty much wrap up the stream. A little bit of a shorter stream today. That's kind of what I figured. Just because didn't have a guest, just wanted to kind of catch up a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much what the plan was. But thank you all once again for those of you currently watching and those of you watching afterwards for checking this out as always. So, and a lot of fun with the different segments. The quiz was really good. Frontier Coasters always get a give a shout out there for making the quizzes. And then I guess the coaster games are always super fun, and the coaster roulette as well. So there you go. Let's see. What color is the track on Steel Vengeance? I guess, yeah, if I ever got Steel Vengeance, I mean, if someone, I would say the track is red. And then if someone asks if it was brown, I mean, the support structure is brown. So I would say the track is red. Could be argued for being a form of brown, perhaps, but I think it's a red of sorts. But that would definitely be a controversial one. Buy or sell, Blackpool will attempt a world record of sorts for their next coaster. Maybe a UK record. I don't know about a world record. Just because unless you go for like something super niche, you're not really gonna do a record-breaking coaster. As of right now, I don't think so. I will sell this. I don't think they're gonna do a world record type of coaster for their next one. Nice to see you back in chat, Awesome Coasters. We're doing final Q&A, so any last questions, any final buy or sells that you have, let me know. Buy or sell, Adventure Park USA buys Scorpion. Okay, so I do know that Adventure Park USA, they have picked up a few relocated coasters in the past. They do have a Schwarzkopf Wildcat currently, along with Wild West Express, which used to be in Old Town in Florida. And then even their kiddie coaster was a relocation. I still think I think Scorpion is done. I don't think it is going to get relocated, unfortunately. So I will sell it, but that sure would be a fun fit. I mean, that definitely would be cool to see. I'd definitely be down for it. And hey, shout out. I think they won Breakout FEC or something this year's Golden Ticket Awards, so that would certainly be pretty fun. Oh yeah, I think they did put it up for sale. They have, I think, at least put it up for sale. It's still considered to be operating, but we'll see what happens there. That definitely could free up room for them to do something. Which RMC in California has, I guess, the best color scheme? Ooh, that's a good question. That is a good question. I mean, I think I kind of like all of them, to be honest. But I think that I think Twisted Colossus, the green track, the blue track with the white supports, I think that's got to be my favorite. But I mean, the purple and green track for Joker is pretty cool. I just think overall, like that kind of pops and stands out a lot. So I would have to go with Twisted Colossus there of the bunch, but I mean, I do like the orange track for Railblazer as well. Flight of Courage, even though it looks, the color scheme was memed on, I still think it looks pretty nice, all things considered. But I think I gotta go with Twisted Colossus for best color scheme of the RMCs in California. Fun Spot Kissimmee is your home park. Well, there you go. I went there a little while ago last year. I got to ride Mind Blower and Hurricane. I was only in there for 30 minutes, but Mind Blower is a lot of fun, even if even post the retrack, RMC 208 retrack, I still think the wooden sections are pretty rough, but it was still definitely a great coaster. Really good layout. I do have Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk over California's Great America in my rankings, so I would say Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. I think they're pretty tight in my overall park rankings, but even though Great America definitely has the better coaster collection, I mean, I love Giant Dipper at Santa Cruz, and I just like the vibes, the variety of attractions as well. But the vibes, the atmosphere, I think the food options at Santa Cruz are better. I just think, and it's a classic park and very unique feeling, so. As opposed to California's Great America, which is a very solid park in its own right. Pretty good operations. It seems to be well run. Obviously, really nice 1-2 punch of coasters, and flight deck's also really fun. But the rest of their lineup kind of drops off after that. And in general, there are some issues, lack of shade. And I think in general, as far as like legacy Cedar Fair parks go, I think it just isn't quite as strong as a lot of the other ones in like food and other aspects of the park. So I'd go Santa Cruz there. Adventure Park USA is one of your home parks. There you go. How much longer do I think Dixie Landing will last? So it did reopen, right? It was SPNO for a while, but I believe it reopened this year. So that's obviously promising. I haven't kept up with it since like it reopened this year. And that one does have the water park attached to it, so, and my understanding is the water park does a lot better. So hopefully it lasts a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that gets kind of phased out over time. So I don't have a great answer for that. I mean, I don't want to speculate. I hope it ends up being fine and they can just continue to operate it as an actual dry park in addition to the water park, but I'm not too confident that'll be the case. Would it be between Railblazer and Twisted Colossus? So yeah, that's fair. Let's see. I don't think an RMC Raptor is going to replace Scorpion. I'd be pretty surprised because they'd probably have to go for like a small scale one. And I don't think that'd be a very good idea at Busch Gardens Tampa. Just given the crowds they can sometimes get. So hopefully they go a different route. Scorpion, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets replaced by something that's not a roller coaster, to be honest. So we'll see what happens with that ride and what they do to replace it. Would I rather go to Kima Boardwalk or Playland's Castaway Cove? I mean, like, just like in a vacuum, ignoring the area around it, because I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, Playland's Castaway, if you were looking at it considering the area around it, I'd probably take Playland's Castaway Cove. Just because like not too far from a lot of other places. But taking that aside, I think I would go with Kima just because Boardwalk Bullet is like pretty high on my bucket list. And as awesome as Gale Force looks, and I think overall Playland's Castaway Cove has probably a more interesting attractions lineup in general, pretty easily. I think Kima Boardwalk, just because, I mean, Boardwalk Bullet looks incredible. So I'd have to go with Kima for that one. What coasters at Kings Dominion do you think will get returned in 2025? I'm confused. Will get returned in 2025. Elaborate. Oh, rethemed. Okay. That makes sense. Obviously we're getting I think I-305, which is kind of weird. They haven't really mentioned a whole lot with it, but I assume they're probably gonna do that next year. You know, I'd hope so. We'll at least get that, and then I know it's been like kind of rumored that maybe eventually they do something with Backlot Stunt Coaster. I think maybe that would be the next thing after Rapterra. So if we see anything, I would say Itinerary 305 for sure, and then maybe Backlot Stunt Coaster. So yeah. Just Rose Seal Vengeance last year for the first time, and you were so speechless. I mean, yeah, it's a phenomenal coaster. I certainly, when I got off of it, after a few rides, it was my number one. So, and it was not my number one for 3 years. So, definitely can understand it. Definitely one of the best coasters out there. Zadra, of course, I'd like to check that out too. Which park gets the next B&M Giga? I'll go with Busch Gardens Tampa. Eventually, come on, let's get it done. So I'll go with them. I mean, hey, with the but now with the new Six Flags chain, that maybe puts a few Six Flags parks on the table. I know there's that rumor that maybe Great Adventure would get some weird B&M Giga concept way back when. Like Great America obviously would be a park that'd be worthy of a ride like that. But I'll still stick with Busch Gardens Tampa. I think that'd be pretty sick. They could also replace, I think, yeah, they'll probably, if they replace it with an attraction, I think it'll be like something like on the flat ride route. So maybe like a giant discovery attraction could be something like that for sure. So I think that's definitely something that's plausible for sure. Alrighty, so it's actually, funnily enough, it's actually 8:08 p.m. in my time. I'll allow 2 more minutes for any questions to come in. I'll answer any of those before it hits 8:10 my time. I know it's 11:10 Eastern, so I'll answer questions going through until then, and then I'll probably head out. So, but happy to have all of you here once again. Let's see. As a Falcons fan, what did I think about the about how good New Orleans is doing? Okay, got it. Okay. I don't want to go too in depth with this because I know a lot of people here don't care about NFL football, but for those who don't know, I am an Atlanta Falcons fan. Even though I do live in California, I have family that live out there, and reason I became a fan a while back is I just thought the logo was cool. In like 2012, I didn't understand the suffering that would have to come with it. But anyways, so to answer the Saints question, yeah, I'm very shocked that they're actually like they've looked so good in the first 2 weeks. I thought they were gonna be a middling team, maybe even like a bad team this year, just kind of on their last legs of what the organization has been doing with trying to carry out the roster talent with aging players. But yeah, very surprised, and I absolutely think they're legit. Their offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak has been doing an amazing job. So with that offense, and defense is still balling. So honestly, I think they're going to win a division if I had to guess right now. I think they'd have to be the favorites. Or I would say if I had to guess, like you asked me who do I think wins the division by the end of the year, I think it's them. I mean, the Bucks look good. The Falcons had a huge win this week with Kirk Cousins looking good again, which was really promising to see. I mean, week one I was like about as horrible, I think, as it could have been with how Kirk Cousins looked. So the fact that he looked so much more comfortable and was playing well, really in the second half of that Eagles game was really promising. So I think all three of those teams are going to be really fighting, and then the poor Panthers are going to be preparing for the draft probably. So that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, I know a lot of Panthers fans are already like binge watching draft content, which fair enough. But there you go. Has there been any news about Great Adventure Holiday in the Park? Is it still going to happen? Have they not announced it yet? I don't really follow seasonal events at parks that much. That's a little out of my wheelhouse. I know sometimes there's changes. And they usually have a holiday in the park, so I don't know why they wouldn't have it this year in their 50th anniversary. That would be extremely bizarre if they did not. So I'm going to assume it's happening. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't have it this year. It looks like it says on their website that it looks like they're having it, so I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. So I'm going to assume, yeah, there's like no reason they wouldn't. I wouldn't think. If something happens, then I'm unaware, but it looks like it's happening. So my number one overall coaster is a Voyage at Holiday World. So that is it. Also, welcome to the chat, True North Coasters. Dagan is a 49ers fan. Man, you guys are having a ton of injuries stacking up right now, but so long as the Niners can weather the storm, I think they'll be okay. At least the injuries haven't been like super major. They're just kind of things that are like gonna take players out for like a few games, it seems like, rather than like obviously something more substantial like long term. So a little bit tough, but I mean, at least you're not the Rams right now. Basically, I mean, that team is destroyed because of injuries, unfortunately. Let's see. There was a rumor that they were. I think it's happening this year. I've heard absolutely nothing saying that they're canceling it, and I'm pretty sure I just looked on the website and they had a page up for it, so I'm gonna assume it's still good. Do you think Falcon's flight will actually be reliable and not broken down a lot of the time? I mean, yeah, at this point, I do think it'll open and everything, but in terms of it being reliable, I don't think it's going to be particularly reliable. I mean, it's in the desert. I mean, it goes up super high. Like, I'm guessing it's going to have pretty, like, these coasters that are very tall. I mean, if the winds are a certain speed, they can't run. I think that's going to be a problem for Falcon's flight. And man, I mean, just with where some of the elements are, that seems like when it does go down, and in terms of trying to do maintenance on it relatively quickly, it seems like it could be pretty tricky. So I think it will have a lot of downtime issues. Would love to be proven wrong just for the sake of those who actually visit, but I would expect it has like a ton of problems. So there you go. But yeah, that's I think pretty much it. So that'll wrap up the stream. Thanks to all of you once again for watching. And this was a fun stream, so very much appreciate it. So with that being said, okay, one last question came in here. Going to any coaster events this fall. Actually, I haven't officially announced it on anything, but like I have all the stuff done basically, and I can probably mention it here. Um, but I will be. I have just gotten stuff done so that I will be headed to IAPA Expo this year for the first time, actually. So IAPA Expo in Orlando, of course. So I've never been before. I want to go just to be able to experience it, and also for really networking, because that was such a beneficial thing for me when I got to go to Skynext last year. Made a lot of connections, and as I'm applying to internships and trying to get opportunities within the industry, it's been very helpful up to this point. And so I definitely want to build upon that even more. So I will be going there this year. That'll be a lot of fun and very interesting to finally do that. I will say, in terms of those who follow me on Instagram and whatnot, even though I'm literally there, I am not going as like a press member. For one, I don't think I'd even be eligible if I attempted to do that. But because of that, like I'm not probably gonna be like actually in person, like getting like a ton of pictures and videos of stuff, because I pretty much, especially at the booths, I'd like you have to ask for permission individually to do that. So I might like repost what other people post, like I've done previously on like the Instagram stories. But even that might be a little slower this year, just because I'm literally at the event, and not like chilling at home basically. Um, so that's pretty much, I will mention that as far as updates go. But there will definitely be plenty of people to follow. I'll definitely keep an eye out for different things, especially because sometimes we get like little showcases and announcements that go under the rug. So I'll keep an eye out just in case something catches my eye, so I can get more info if anything of interest happens. So um, I guess that's a good way to end the stream, is met by mentioning that. Also, hello Minnesota Thrills. I'm wrapping up the stream here, but hope you're having a good time at Valley of Scare. But yeah, that'll truly wrap it up for this stream, though. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time here on Coaster Hour. See you all.